Have you ever wished to become someone who is truly unshakable? Someone who no longer feels shaken by criticism, rejection, loss, or betrayal? Have you ever imagined the day when you finally stop feeling that quiet pain, that lingering anguish that consumes you inside, even while you pretend everything is fine on the outside? Maybe you're exhausted from trying to satisfy everyone, from maintaining an image that demands constant strength, when deep down, all you ever wanted was to rest, even if only for a moment, from the pressure of appearing untouchable. But here is something that perhaps no one has had the courage to tell you. As long as you keep trying to escape pain, it will continue to control you. As long as you try to numb yourself, to protect yourself, to hide, you will remain a hostage to everything that happens around you, to the words that wound you, to the actions that disappoint you, to the silence that slowly eats you alive. And this is not weakness. This is the reality for most people. The only difference is that some hide it better than others. Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in depth psychology, once said that we are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become. And that is where the real key lies. It is not about shielding yourself from the world. It is not about becoming cold, detached, or untouchable. It is about integration. It is about bringing into awareness everything that currently affects you in the shadows. Because real strength is not the absence of pain, but the full awareness of who you are, even when you are hurting. If you have made it this far, it is not by accident. This message is meant for you who are tired of being hurt by everything and everyone. It is for you who feel like you are always at an emotional disadvantage, as if others have a power over you that you cannot fully understand. I want to show you that it does not have to remain this way, but for that you will need to face some truths that may be uncomfortable, and perhaps for the first time, this pain will become your freedom. You believe that what hurts you comes from the outside, from the actions of others, from careless words, from the abandonment you experienced, from the betrayals you never expected. But the truth is harsher. None of this truly has the power to hurt you, unless there is already an open wound within you. What hurts you is not what others do. It is what those experiences awaken inside you. It is the story you create around them. It is the old wounds that were never healed. It is the emptiness you try to cover with strength, with pride, with that desperate need to appear composed. Jung teaches that the pain we feel in response to the external world is simply a reflection of what has not yet been integrated within us. That is why some people endure devastating situations and still maintain clarity, while others collapse from a single comment. It is not about what happens, it is about where it touches you. And here comes an uncomfortable truth. You continue to suffer because somewhere deep inside you still believe you can control how the world treats you. You are still trying to be good enough, smart enough, strong enough, understanding enough, as if that would guarantee that no one could hurt you. But control is an illusion, and as long as you cling to it, you will live in constant tension, trying to predict what cannot be predicted, trying to avoid what cannot be avoided. Do you want to stop suffering? Then stop trying to protect yourself from suffering. What you truly need is not more control, but deeper awareness. As long as you believe that people must change in order for you to feel peace, you will remain enslaved by their actions. Your freedom begins the moment you understand that everything from the outside only gains power if it finds an echo within you. And that is where the real battlefield exists, the unconscious. What you do not see, what you do not understand, and what you do not face will control you. The greatest illusion you have been taught is that you are in control of your life, when in reality, you are not. At least, not as long as you continue to live on autopilot, reacting without knowing why, feeling without understanding where it originates, making choices that you later sabotage. Carl Jung expressed this clearly when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that is exactly what is happening. The pain you feel, the anger that erupts suddenly, the sadness that overwhelms you without warning, none of this is random. These are signals coming from parts of you that have been ignored, forgotten, or suppressed. Jung described this hidden territory as the unconscious, and it is not just a vague cloud of thoughts. It is an active force, a system filled with memories, trauma, desires, and fears that you avoid, but that continue to shape your emotions and actions. You wonder why certain words affect you so deeply, while others remain unaffected. It is because those words strike sensitive areas within you that are still alive. And if they are still alive, it is because you have never truly faced them. You have only pushed them aside, hidden them beneath the surface, and now you keep stumbling over them. Jung once said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it." Condemnation does not free us, it only imprisons us further. And what have you been doing? Judging yourself, suppressing yourself, silencing yourself, as if that would solve anything. The unconscious does not disappear just because you ignore it. It simply finds more dangerous ways to appear in toxic relationships that repeat themselves in patterns of self-sabotage that seem impossible to break, in anxieties and fears that arise when everything appears to be fine. This is not bad luck. It is your unconscious trying to awaken you, but you continue to avoid it. If you want to become someone who is no longer easily hurt, then stop running from what is within you. Because as long as you do not understand your unconscious, you will remain controlled by your emotions. And the more you try to defend yourself from external pain, the more vulnerable you become to internal suffering. But there is a path forward, and it is not found in defense. It is found in integration. Because becoming untouchable is not about resistance. It is about deep understanding. Most people believe the only way to avoid pain is by shutting themselves off. They build walls, create masks, develop emotional armor, and convince themselves that nothing affects them. They say, "I do not care anymore. Nothing reaches me anymore." But inside, they continue to suffer. They slowly break down because the real problem was never feeling. The real problem is not understanding what you feel and why. And this only happens when you do not truly know yourself. Jung emphasized, know all the theories, master every technique, but when you touch a human soul, be simply another human soul. And that human soul you keep hiding behind strength and control is longing to be seen. Becoming emotionally strong is not about being cold. It is not about avoiding pain or pretending indifference. It is about integration, about acceptance, about bringing into awareness everything you have buried. You do not become untouchable by separating yourself from the world. You become untouchable when you realize that nothing can disturb what has already been accepted within you. When you integrate your fears, your insecurities, your flaws, you stop reacting blindly. You begin to observe and then choose. You are no longer controlled. This is true freedom. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. Not what others expect, not what you believed you had to be, but what naturally emerges from within. Individuation is not about perfection. It is about wholeness. You do not need to become better. You need to become complete. And here is the truth. Few people tell you, the more you avoid pain, the more it follows you. The more you try not to feel, the more fragile you become. But when you face your wounds, when you accept yourself fully, with everything that is beautiful and everything that is imperfect, nothing outside can break you. However, this journey requires courage. Courage to look within. Courage to drop the masks. Courage to truly feel. Because within pain lies the key to transformation. You were taught to hate pain from a young age. You were told that suffering means weakness, that crying is useless, that feeling deeply makes you vulnerable. So you learn to run, to avoid, to suppress. But the more you escape pain, the more it follows you, and worse, it changes form. It becomes anxiety, anger, emptiness, boredom, self-destructive behaviors that you cannot explain. Pain that is ignored does not disappear. It simply burrows deeper until one day everything collapses. Jung saw suffering differently. He believed pain was a messenger of the soul, a signal from the unconscious, a language through which your deeper self tries to reach you. He suggested that what we call depression is like a presence that demands attention, a signal asking you to stop and listen, not something to run from, but something to understand. Because within that discomfort lies the truth you have been avoiding. And when you finally face it, when you stop running, when you begin to listen, something begins to change. The pain that once controlled you begins to transform into awareness. And that awareness becomes your strength. But if she appears, do not push her away. Invite her to sit beside you. Offer her a cup of coffee and truly listen to what she has to say. Yet you do not listen. You silence yourself. You distract your mind. Keep yourself constantly busy. Numb your emotions. You do everything possible to avoid facing what actually matters. What is this pain trying to reveal to you? The truth is, suffering cuts so deeply because you are still in conflict with yourself. There remains a part of you that longs to grow, and another part that desperately wants to keep everything the same. There is something inside you calling for transformation, yet your ego, used to control, tries to suffocate that voice. And it is within this inner tension that pain is created, because change hurts. Growth hurts. Letting go of old beliefs, ending toxic connections, allowing what no longer serves you to fade away. All of this is a form of mourning. It is an inner process of death and rebirth. But it is exactly in this space of collapse that something new can begin. Because when everything within you is broken apart, when your certainties fall, when pain exposes your vulnerability, you are finally able to see who you truly are, without layers of protection, without performance, without masks. And at that exact moment, suffering becomes sacred, because it brings you face to face with the only thing that can truly free you, yourself. Carl Jung understood this deeply. He knew that suffering is not a flaw in the system, it is part of the process. Pain is not the end, it is the doorway to the journey toward individuation. The problem is that most people give up before crossing that dark valley. They escape, they distract themselves, they return to the surface. But not you. If you have reached this point, it is because you are ready to cross. And now we move deeper into understanding how this crossing unfolds. How the path of individuation, no matter how lonely or intense it feels, is what ultimately sets you free. It is becoming deeper now. Very few people have the courage to begin the path of individuation, and even fewer have the strength to complete it, because this path does not promise comfort. It offers no guarantees. It does not protect your ego, it dismantles it. Jung described individuation as the process of becoming who you truly are. But this also means unlearning everything you thought you were. And that pain can feel stronger than any rejection from the outside, because you begin to realize that much of what defined you was never truly you. You are not your achievements. You are not your wounds. You are not the image you built to be accepted, respected, or admired. All of that was created for survival. But surviving is not the same as living. And individuation is life calling you beyond survival. It begins when the unconscious starts bringing everything hidden, repressed, and distorted to the surface. Individuation demands the dissolution of the persona. Jung described it as a mask shaped by collective expectations, which means you will have to strip away your own identity to discover what lies beneath. It is in this process that you begin to become untouchable, not because nothing affects you anymore, but because you have already walked through the fire. You have faced your fears, you have looked directly at your shame, your need for validation, your anger, and you have said, "I see you," and you no longer control me. It is this clarity, this awareness in the face of your own darkness, that gives you a strength independent of approval, recognition, or control. You no longer feel the need to be loved by everyone. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need to appear strong, because you finally know who you are, and that cannot be taken away. True emotional strength is not a shield, it is a center. It is the integration of all parts of yourself into a stable awareness that remains grounded, even during chaos. You may still feel pain, but it does not shatter you. You may still be hurt, but you do not lose yourself. Because you are no longer reacting blindly, you have become whole. You are no longer living only on the surface, you are living in depth. However, this depth carries a cost. Loneliness. Not necessarily because you are alone, but because very few people can truly walk this path with you. Most remain at the surface, hiding behind masks, avoiding discomfort. And as you begin to free yourself, you naturally grow distant. But this distance is not rejection, it is growth. You do not step away out of arrogance, you step away because you no longer belong where you once hid. And this leads to the final understanding: consciousness as protection. Because it is not strength that protects you, it is clarity. And now that you have come this far, something must be said. Clearly, nothing, absolutely nothing, will protect you from external suffering if you remain unaware of what is happening within you. Words will continue to hurt, rejection will continue to sting, loss will continue to shake you until you awaken. And awakening is not a sudden miracle. It is a daily decision. It is choosing to look within, even when it is uncomfortable. It is taking full responsibility for what you feel, without blaming others, your past, or fate. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." You have spent so much of your life resisting the fear of not being enough, the emptiness of rejection, the pain of loneliness, the longing to be seen. But what did you do with all of that? You hid. You silenced yourself. You tried to control everything. You tried to be perfect. You tried to remain strong. And all of that has brought you here, exhausted, tired of fighting the world and yourself at the same time. But now you understand, true emotional resilience is not hardness. It is clarity. It is not about building defenses. It is about expanding awareness. Because when you understand your triggers, your patterns, your wounds, the actions of others lose their power to break you. You still feel, but you do not drown. You still experience pain, but you do not lose yourself. And that changes everything. What truly protects you is not avoiding life, it is stepping fully into it. Those who remain on the surface are shaken by every wave. Those who go deeper discover calm, strength, and stillness beneath. And that is where you are heading. When you begin to live from that place of integration, presence, and acceptance, the world may try to shake you, but it no longer finds a place to strike. If something within you resonated, if something inside you has awakened, write in the comments, "I choose awareness." Let this become a movement of people who no longer want to survive behind a mask of strength, but choose to live with truth. And remember, this is only part of the journey. Real transformation begins when you continue beyond the first step. Keep going forward.